It's only been 14 days for 2024, but man, it's been insane, right? So much happened in wrestling. I only want to focus on what happened yesterday with TNA coming back, with New Japan having their strong show in USA. I'm going to especially focus on Jungle Boy, right? Dolph Ziggler's return, Nick Nemeth now, or debut actually, not even return, to TNA. And Will Ospreay's goodbye, because those are the moments that kind of meant a lot to me. So this one's going to be a chill video. I've been posting a video every single day of the week, more than once sometimes, and I've been grinding, man. I'm going to continue to grind as much as I can. 2K24 is coming out and I want to keep things going strong. But let's talk about the return of TNA. I just want to say overall, my feelings about the show was that it's amazing. It was such a fresh feeling. It's something that I've not felt maybe ever since 2019, 2020. To be more specific, I felt this way when AEW was first becoming a thing. I felt excited, kind of nervous, energized. I felt like there was hope again for pro wrestling. And it makes a lot of sense because, you know, we had the WWE hegemony forever. It was WWE and nothing else. And for a small little while, AEW was like a shining beacon of hope. Small little while. Let me make that clear. But that was the case. At one point, I think all of us thought or sincerely hoped with all we had that AEW would be a competitor to the WWE. Now, let's be honest, it's not even close. In fact, it makes WWE look way better in comparison, which is embarrassing. But we don't have to worry about it anymore because TNA felt like what AEW was in the beginning. And while there were many things that I didn't enjoy, like the amount of matches, there were way too many matches, there were way too many moves, kind of like AEW wrestling, right? Where you just go, you spin, you do another elbow, you spin, you do another move, you counter, you start dancing to do your finisher. And it happens in every single match, not just the main event. You know, stuff like this that would annoy me normally kind of got me hyped up for this show because it felt right. In this show, it felt much better. It felt right. The arena looked good. The setup, the ramp being like a little crooked and then it gets straight. Like everything was different, but you still had that ramp or the Titantron with like the cool tunnels. It was so cool. It was really cool. Everything just felt so fresh. Eric Young coming out there doing a great opening. I can't believe he did it live. He's a great speaker. There was a real sense of camaraderie between all of the wrestlers, all of the announcers, the entirety of the TNA team, and the crowd as well. So man, like I said, those tropes, those modern wrestling tropes that I really don't enjoy nowadays, they didn't annoy me as much. I was able to get into the show and I watched some of the matches that I would never watch. I was like, okay, why would I watch this? Skip? No, I stood and watched. Even the first match, it was a women's match, X Division match, and I basically knew none of the wrestlers, but I stood and watched. It was super cool to see Kushida again because after he left the WWE, I mean, I did catch him maybe a little bit, his highlights to be more specific, on New Japan, but I never heard his theme song for so long. And hearing that again after basically so many years, it was kind of nice. It made me feel warm and fuzzy. And of course him, Chris Sabin, and God help me if I can remember the other guy's name. Oh man, no way. Vikingo, that's right, El Hijo de Vikingo or whatever. I hate him in AEW. I really do. But the way he was presented, the way he came out right after the owner of TNA made his announcement and he comes out there, the reaction he gets, the way he was presented was just so much better. And I think the way this match was put together, the pacing of it was also a lot better. It didn't feel awkward when Hio was doing his moves and stuff like that. Well, I'll be honest, less awkward. Again, alongside the warm, fuzzy feeling of watching this pay-per-view, watching TNA being back after all these years, carried me through this fast-paced match. But I hope now in the weekly shows, we don't see this same match all the time, right? The weekly shows are a little bit different. It's okay to slow down and tell a story sometimes, man. It's also okay to mic up the crowd a little bit more because I thought that was lacking. Because I feel like the crowd was giving great reactions, but because, they had miking issues or whatever, I don't know. The crowd seemed very, very quiet in the mix. They got to take care of that because obviously that's going to make the show 10 times better, easily. Also, speaking of production issues, there was a whole bunch of production issues, like the audio coming in late for a promo, them switching scenes and stuff like that. But I thought the overall presentation was nice. It was charming. It felt like wrestling. And it's okay if it's not completely clean. That's one of my criticisms against the WWE. It's way too clean. It's way too sterile. It's like I arrived at a hospital, right? No, I want wrestling to be crazy, like Raw of 1999 or whatever. You know, you're backstage, there's explosions going on. It looks kind of dirty. Yeah, before this, I was telling you about slowing down, right? Well, at the very end of the show, well, they should have done the opposite of that, basically. Because Nick Nemeth had his return. It was awesome. It was still great. Don't get me wrong. I still loved it. It was an 8 out of 10. Maybe it could have been 12, 15 out of 10. The reason it wasn't was because Nick Nemeth comes in there. Well, he doesn't even come in there out of nowhere. His theme song hits, and then he goes into the ring. And then we see him standing behind Moose. He just waits and waits and waits and waits. Moose turns. I'm like, super kick coming. No, they just look at each other. Moose goes for a cross line. Oh, super kick coming. He's going to do it and run away. No, he does that. And then he waits and waits, does a zigzag. And then he waits and waits. He gestures at the crowd. And then he runs away because Moose's lackeys, well, I don't know what the hell they were doing. Actually, you could see what they were doing from the camera. They're like, get in there, get in there. At least the girl was saying that. And they were just standing like that. And now some of you can come up with an explanation like, oh, they were so shocked that they couldn't react. I have so many offensive thoughts going through my mind right now to respond to that. Those guys shouldn't be wrestlers. Take them back to kindergarten because they have to relearn how to eat, how to drink water, how to exist as a adult human being and not as a complete idiot. It just made it look super stupid. You know, like, I think most of you guys thought this as well. Like, it would have been so cool if Moose was celebrating. Nobody has any idea. Dan Ziggler with a hoodie or something so that nobody from the crowd realizes it's him. Gets in there and you don't even see him right until the moment he's doing the super kick. And he just does the super kick, man, right on the chin. Moose goes down. Everyone's like, what the fuck? Reveals that it's him. Does the hand gesture, whatever. And then Moose's lackeys, immediately after seeing the super kick, maybe they could like, shit, what the hell? And then they go in. They just take a couple of seconds and they run in. Ziggler does the super kick, right? So just in a couple of seconds, he's doing this. He sees them, powder. So everything happens in 5 seconds. They chase him right at the barricade, right? And then he gets in the crowd and they stop. Then they go back in the ring and check on Moose, the lackeys I'm talking about. And then Ziggler goes to the crowd again and gives that iconic shot, hopefully being a little bit more careful. I think he was about to rip both of the shirts, including the TNA one. But anyways, I thought that shot was perfect. It looked so good. And the fact that it got, so many views on YouTube is a proof of that. It was very nicely shot. Very good. I would not change anything about the very end. But yeah, man, like, it would have been so much cooler, like, because it was great. Feeling good, man. You know what? We had some cool debuts like Dana Brooke being there now, pretty much stealing Tony Storm's gimmick. She literally just stole Tony Storm's gimmick, I think. She even has like her own looter. So, but yeah, that would have been our feeling, right? Oh, you know what? TNA is back, baby. This is pretty nice. And then right at that, right? Ziggler comes in like a shock. He almost super kicks you, right? In a sense. That would have been so much sweeter. It's just baffling to me that nobody did this. Because I think as a wrestling fan, as somebody, like as a wrestler, as a wrestling booker, I think this would have been the first idea. I don't know why they didn't think about this. Kind of worrying, really. Maybe they saw something that I'm not seeing right now. Maybe they thought of something that I cannot think of right now. But tell me, do you agree with my proposition? Now let's get to New Japan Strong. Now, I didn't watch all the matches there. I just looked at, highlights of it basically. And obviously in the first match, Jack Perry comes in for the invasion. I saw that on X, and so I wanted to watch the full thing. And I gotta say, they handled it very well. Like, if I was watching the show without having any idea, I could never predict it in a million years that like someone from the crowd was gonna hit Shota Umino, I think that's his name. Because it's so nicely done, right? Everybody's leaving. Shota is also tired. He's about to leave. He says, you know what, let me take one more tour. Just nothing out of the ordinary. Just let me high-five the fans. And I don't know where he gets punched in the face. Like, see? New Japan is so good, dude. I wish AEW got booked by whoever's booking New Japan. Honestly, it'll be so much better. And I'll make this point again because Jack Perry, man, he removes the mask. Sadly, the cameraman was like falling all over the place, so they couldn't catch the moment of him revealing his face. But they got a shot of his face close up right after that. And it was great. He comes in there, rips up the AB contract. And I'm very hopeful because I'm not a big fan of Jungle Jack after what he did with CM Punk to AEW, to be honest with you guys. But I did like his heel turn. I felt like one of the only people to really enjoy Jungle Boy's short heel turn. Like, I enjoyed his promos. I thought there was potential. Obviously, he was not perfect by any means, but I thought he had potential. And with New Japan presenting him now, I think he has potential. That's very important. The presentation is everything in wrestling. And that's why, for example, in AEW, I really don't like Kenny Omega. I think he's one of my most disliked wrestlers there. Really is. But in New Japan, he might as well be my top wrestler of all time. Number one favorite. The presentation is everything. And AEW just, I don't know what they're doing. Well, I know what they're doing. Tony Khan needs to do something at this point. Find a way to replace himself with a professional, someone who's seasoned in the wrestling business, someone who knows what he's doing, a mentor that he can learn from, and then take over years later once he's sufficient enough, instead of doing fantasy booking, which he's free to do because he has endless amount of money. But that's besides the point, man. That's besides the point. I really like the segment with Jack Perry, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do in New Japan. And as much as I bash AEW, one of the things that I really like is, it is an alternative for wrestlers at least to make money somewhere else. For people like Cody to become bigger than they were. I think the same thing should happen to Seth Rollins. I think he should leave, because if he wants to be valued more in that company, he needs to do something like that. Otherwise, they're never going to make him the guy. But that's, again, another point. I can talk about pro wrestling forever, ladies and gentlemen. My point was going to be, even though I criticize AEW, I like the fact that Tony allows these wrestlers to go wrestle in New Japan. Now, if I was Tony, would I allow Jon Moxley to go wrestle in New Japan? Not really. But for someone like Jack Perry, who's in a very precarious position anyways, weird position, I think this was a very good way to get out of it. So I'd probably keep my top stars from doing stuff like this, or going to a small event and getting injured. Especially when I got like a big pay-per-view coming out. But man, yeah, people who I cannot use prominently on TV, or people who needs a fresh coat of paint, I think stuff like this is perfect. Honestly, it really doesn't make sense from a business standpoint, but for us fans, it's good, so I'm not complaining. We had the debut of Matt Riddle. I forgot to talk about that, but I mean, he just did all of his matches that he does in WWE. He hasn't missed a step, basically. He's good. He's great. He's amazing in the ring. And he has a good character. That's why he had so much potential. So even the way he was, he would have always remained an upper mid-carder or a mid-carder. Maybe not a main eventer, because I think he would need to seriously change for that. Clean up his act and find another dimension of his gimmick. Or perhaps a brand new gimmick to be a main eventer. But man, he's really good. He's really good. So the fact that he's going to New Japan now and he's going to all the other indies, just like how he was doing before coming to the WWE, shows that he likes wrestling, man. I think he's going to stay there. I don't know if he likes it that much, to be honest with you. What else can he do now? Can he go back to the UFC? He's surely not going to make as much money. He's not going to be able to go back to UFC anyways, but right, MMA, he's going to actually get beat up for real. And then, not make as much money. No, instead, he's wrestling. But I assume, come on now, I assume he likes wrestling. But yeah, I mean, it was a good match. And before I get to the Ospreay thing, the feeling I had here as I was watching this show, because I watched it after the TNA show, it's just like, this feels like, again, 2019 all over again. Because I remember, especially right before AEW, you just had everything on the indies. Like, we would have a show and then you would have WXW, Over the Top Wrestling, whatever. Like, all the indie promotions that you can name having big shows. You had PW doing its thing. And then AEW sort of came up and took all of that scene and became a company, kind of. And after that, let's be honest, New Japan fell off. There wasn't a reason to watch anything else anymore. Impact and everything else basically fell off. A lot of the indies got wrecked, not just because of AEW. AEW was a factor. Let's get that straight. But also COVID, right? Well, it was harder to make money. And I feel like finally the indies are starting to heal. I mean, Mustafa Ali was out there challenging Hiroshi Tanahashi as well. Pretty good. And right at the end, Ospreay versus Ospreay happened. He was battling his demons. He was battling Kazuchika Okada in real life. And one of my favorite things about New Japan is their like promos that stretch back more than a couple of years. They just did this for Wrestle Kingdom between Tetsuya Naito and Sanada, and seeing their journey from day one to day 1 million, basically. It was so good. So they did a similar type of video for Will Ospreay and Kazuchika Okada. And this one hit even harder for me because I pretty much watched all of the matches. Even the first one they had in England, I remember watching it. And it was kind of funny seeing Ospreay just lose and lose and lose all the time. And it was kind of obvious he's losing this one too, but it didn't matter. It just felt good, you know, it felt like saying goodbye to a friend, right? And so no matter what happened, you wouldn't care anyways. And of course, Ospreay lost. He can't beat Kazuchika Okada, not in his worst day. That's just how it is, you know? And he did something that I really appreciate, which he started off saying like, oh, loud noses, bruv. And, you know, that's cool. Some people find it funny. Some people find it cool, I guess. I don't really like that. But he wasn't out of breath, so he wasn't talking like every sentence, I got to take a breath. No, he was talking normally and he wasn't breathing. And he just basically had a heart-to-heart with the crowd. And I thought he handled himself really well. Now, I'll compare him to CM Punk. I'm not saying he's as good on the mic as CM Punk is, but what CM Punk does, and other wrestlers who are good at promos, really good, like top level good at promos do, is they don't cut a promo, they more so speak to the crowd or speak with the crowd even. And that's what Ospreay did kind of. And I really liked it. And he looked very charismatic. And I don't know how long he's been doing it. The first time I saw him doing this, by the way, at his entrance, he was in Wrestle Kingdom. You know, he waits for the Ospreay part of his theme song, and he lets the crowd chant it. It's so good. He's obviously going to get that song in AEW because Tony likes to pay that money for the songs. And if he goes to WWE one day, he's got to have that song too. But I mean, that's like 5 years down the line now, so whatever. I just really liked the way he spoke here, and it was really genuine. It was nice. It's something that I'll remember. So I gotta say, it was a great start, very exciting start to the year of 2024. And my wish for the entire world of professional wrestling in 2024 is for them to slow down a little bit. Show us more facial expressions. Sell a move more. Tell us a story. Tell us one thing. Tell it really well instead of telling us 20 sentences and we have to figure out what's going on. No, you can keep it simple. Do the least amount of things you can do to earn the most amount of money. Believe me, it'll be good for us too. If MJF can get over a move called the kangaroo kick, you can get over anything. I know Psycho Mike does a body slam and it gets like WrestleMania level pops. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. As a wrestling fan, I don't want to see you break your neck, break your arm, kill yourself. No, I just want you to entertain me. You don't have to do all that. You really don't. There are smarter ways around this. Nobody watches Harry Potter because of the cool magic battles. They wanted to see if Harry Potter was gonna, defeat his evil or whatever. Will he fulfill his destiny? Will Aragorn become the king? With everything that life throws at him, what will Joker do? Not if will Joker do a 630 splash. No. And that's pretty much it. Let's see what happens. I'm out of here.